Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from our side as well. So I would quickly to introduce what we are doing next. First of all, I'll give you a bit of context about COVID-19, and then we have a lot of interesting best practices that we would like to share with you, and then we go to the Q&A after that. So I hope that everyone is okay and in good shape despite these difficult times. The entire food service industry is still continuing to battle through the COVID-19 crisis. And we know that the expected fallout will reshape the industry. At the same time, we are encouraged by the never-ending creativity of our industry and the new exciting opportunities that we see everywhere. We believe that the recovery of COVID-19 will be gradual, and that we will achieve pre-COVID level only in 2024. There are mainly three factors for that. First of all, more people are working from home than ever, and this is a trend that will continue also even after COVID-19. Then, of course, we have a lot of regulations, restrictions. First of all, we had strict shutdowns, and in some countries, we still have it. And then after the shutdowns, we had, of course, table spacing and a lot of hygiene requirements. Then we had downsizing of the industry, the financial stress that leads to industry downsizing. We are expecting that about 20 to 30% of independent restaurants could go bankrupt. Large chains are closing underperforming outlets and also limit their expansion plans. On the other side, you have upsides. Studies in the US and in Europe show that around 50 to 60% of the consumer want to eat out again, like before COVID-19. People are missing variety. They want to meet. Socializing is very important for human beings. And they're also missing the experience of a professionally cooked meal. It is therefore clear that off-premises consumption will grow more than before, as the consumer will try to bring restaurant experience back to their home. This creates additional revenue for the operators. In 2020, dine-in lost about 1/3 of their sales. And out of this 1/3, 70% will be recovered until 2024. 30% of the dine-in sales is lost for good and can only be compensated by off-premises sales. Grab-and-go opportunities are also booming, as the consumer doesn't want to sit down anymore for obvious reasons, but consume on the go. The pandemic has prompted consumers to reassess the nutritional quality of the diets, and in doing so, incorporate much more plant-based solutions and options. The operators, of course, as they are losing so much of their sales, they have to try to protect the bottom line. And a lot of measures like shorter menus, convenient solutions, and automation was put in place. So where do we go from here? Despite the limitations, people are still eager to enjoy restaurant food and support their local businesses, many of which have played a part in their lives for years. And dining out, whether it takes the form of eating inside the restaurant or sharing a takeout meal at home, is still an important part of the way people relax and connect. But some of the things they want when dining out have really changed. Okay, let's see these reasons that changed. But first, I think we have a quiz.
Yes. So if you are using the Zoom app on your desktop or on your phone, you would soon see a pop-up window with questions. So our question for today is, due to the pandemic, how many consumers globally are now planning to eat and drink healthier? 30%, 50%, 70%, or 80%. So you will not have from now until the end of the webinar to answer this question. So please take your time. Thank you, Cornell. Please continue.
Thank you. And if you pay attention, you will find all the solutions in the presentation that we have. So first one, people are more conscious of their health, and 80% of them plan to eat and to drink healthier. In hopes of protecting their health, they may be paying much more attention to what they eat. They may choose plant-based foods and beverages, or looking for ingredients with functional or health benefits. This rising interest is an opportunity, of course, for the food service industry, an opportunity to offer healthier choices. Second, consumers are willing to help restaurants to recover, and they are happy to even spend more at restaurants. But they need to feel safe. Staying safe while eating matters, and 63% of the consumers say they are willing to pay more for health and safety measures. The good news is people still want to dine out. In fact, in a survey that we have done in the US, we see that more than half say it's the activity they want to do most again after COVID. Since start of the pandemic, takeout and delivery orders increased. People may feel safer taking out the food rather than dining in. 27% of people globally are ordering takeout from restaurants that they had never ordered from prior to the pandemic. And this 20% will stay. And finally, people are using less cash paying for meals. They have concerns over transmission of the virus through the exchange of physical currency, and they may feel much more confident using digital or touchless payments. 56% of the consumers are using a phone or credit card. With that, I would like to hand over to Anna, who will tell us about best hygienes and health practices.
Thanks a lot, Cornel. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. As Cornel was explaining, it's key for food service operators to know what people want to see and feel when they step in a restaurant, bar, or cafeteria. They now value cleanliness above all when selecting where to eat and drink. Safety training to employees and frequent sanitation of the place are the most important factors for consumers to feel safe when visiting a restaurant, according to a recent study done in US. When it comes to keeping the guests safe, it's always good to start with hygiene, cleaning, sanitation practice that are already very familiar for food service operators, for the restaurants, but due to COVID-19, there may be additional restrictions in place. We of course acknowledge that the situation in regard to the pandemic for out of home may be quite different country by country. While some remain in full lockdown, others can operate with more or less restrictions. Therefore, first important message is to be fully aware and compliant with your local regulation. In addition to following this local government and public health advice, here we have consolidated for you some general guidance and best practices from sources well trusted by World Chef and Nestlé experts in quality and food safety. So if we go one by one, in terms of health, the first thing to do for customers is we advise to train their whole team on the new measures. They need to fully understand the new rules and how to follow them. Encourage any employees, of course, when they have fever or any other symptoms to stay at home, and look for ways to minimize contact between staff. You can, for example, rezone the back of house or work to have a lower staff density in limited spaces. And of course, limit as well contact with your suppliers. Clean the delivered packets before bringing them into your facility. When we are talking about hygiene, it's important to know that the staff needs to wash hands even more often than before and in between different manipulations, and as well wear masks on shift and according to the different regulations. Maintain an adequate supply of hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes at the entrance to and within the premises. And make an extra effort to be really tidy so guests will feel and be much more reassured. When we are talking about cleaning practices, here is very important and a good practice to schedule a thorough sanitation of all work areas, clean interior infrastructure, the equipment, the tools, the vending machines, the payment tools before reopening. Then set a schedule to make cleaning a part of your daily routine. Sanitize the shared surfaces, often including the digital ordering services, the tabletops, the check presenters, self-service area, and all the frequently touched areas like the door handles, and provide sufficient hand sanitizers or disinfectant wipes for workers and guests. And last, when we talk about the facility, at your facility, you can make a space for outdoor eating if that is feasible, for takeout and curbside pickup, and remove tables if needed, spacing them farther apart in order you can provide adequate distancing. You may also want to install barriers and mark floors to limit worker and guest interaction. When limiting close interaction is not feasible, at least ensure that the staff wear the face mask, and increase ventilation wherever possible and raise the frequency of the air renewal settings. With this, I want to hand over to our chef, Emmanuel, to go to very specific and good advice on rethinking your menu. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Anna, and good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to everybody. So now let's take a look at the menu. COVID has changed what many restaurants are offering in their menus, and those changing have been popular with the public. In fact, more than half of those who've introduced new offers plan to continue them after restrictions. Meal kits, family styles meal. Here are a few things you can do. We are a few things then can do to rethink their menu in order to satisfy their guests. So shrink your menu down to your best sellers to cut cost and avoid waste. Simplifying the operation reduce the sourcing risk and it's easier to manage. You can do more with less, using one ingredient for many recipes, versatility.
Yes, in terms of providing more balanced choices, we want to do a little bit of zoom here. You have listened from Cornel as well that people is trying to eat more healthy foods and reduce the sugar increase the consumption of vegetables and fruits. A good strategy for out-of-home operators is to embrace the new demanding trends like plant-based and incorporate more options like plant-based meat and dairy alternatives in their menu. And provide, of course, more dishes rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, which are good source of vitamins and minerals. Of course, providing more salads as well and other nutritious solutions make it easier for your guests to enjoy an indulgent desserts afterwards guilt-free, because more consumers are looking for a really more mindful and holistic approach to food. So we continue with the rest.
So provide family-style meals, including main dish, desserts, and beverage with balanced energy intake that make it easier for stressed parents to feed their family while working and supervising school. Increase grab-and-go items that people can eat at home, work, or while social distancing. Individually wrapped sandwiches, bites with labels and bottled drink are popular. Offer meal kits or take and bake so people can reproduce some of your special dishes at home. With offering kits, operators can bring same experiences into customers' home for every need. Family meals and meal kits are among the most popular offering for consumers and have the strong potential to become standard offering even after restriction lift. Road to Recovery, Data Central 2020 US. Meal kits are also a way for restaurants to unload some of their perishable supply, which might otherwise go to waste. Earning guest trust again is very important. They can earn customer trust again through transparency and showing their guests where the ingredient food exactly come from. Sharing some information on nutritional healthier choices, explaining the preparation methods, the measure you are taking in your kitchen. This transparency will help your guests to feel safer. Focus on value. With many people suffering financial problems and facing job losses due to the pandemic, they may be seeking for more value items. Operators can upsize dishes for a second meal, be wise on the portion communication on your menu, or adding inexpensive sides like a salad or some promotion to increase the value perception. Offer a little luxury. Surveys show that people crave for items that they don't have and cannot make at home. So offer a little luxury, letting guests treat themselves with appetizers or self-indulgent dessert they couldn't make themselves. Consider which food travel well. They need to review their takeout menu and reconsider items which don't retain the highest quality when travel and add items that do. Make sure customers experience the same quality as they dine in. Remember to consider which food travels well so you can maintain your quality standards. Choose takeout containers carefully. Some dishes may not work well for takeout. Some meals can't be easily packaged, and certain food will lose their heat or texture or shape in transit. Choose takeout containers carefully. Use appropriate transport vessels matching to the dish to prevent leaks and maintain the right temperature, and choose, when possible, recyclable or reusable material. A new way to handle beverages. Consumers still crave coffee and other upscale beverages, but they also want extra measures to protect their health. How can you deliver everything they want? Regardless whether it's prepared and served in person or by automated machine, you can provide the required reassurance to your guests. When in person, in addition, the mentioned hygiene and sanitation practice, make sure you keep appropriate distance with guests while preparing beverage. Clean cups properly or use disposable cups. Use one hand to hold cups and avoid touching the rim or inside of the cup. Offer online orders, pick up only storefronts, curbside delivery, and or expanded drive-through service. Set up touch-free payment system. Via automated machines, where customers can order, pay, and receive a freshly made beverage without interacting with a person at all. These machines, from simple to very sophisticated, solve multiple concerns. In a self-serve context, touchless ordering lets guests select and pay by phone. Automation facilitates the work with reduced staff in the kitchen and help to provide better distancing. Machine options can deliver the quality and custom choices that guests crave. On-demand dispensing machines with grab-and-go delivery. 24/7 availability captures demand outside of regular meal time. I pass now to Anna.
Thanks a lot, Manu, because now we wanted to get as well a little bit of perspective on what food service operators could do in regards to the consumer new behavior and expectation. That's why we call it thirsting for something different. As food service operators, it's important for us to help guests make wiser and healthier drink choices. After months of home isolation, we know that 32% of consumers of their weight drinks less caloric drinks like low sugar fruit juices and coffee beverages. The current conditions have also led to new trends in the beverage category, with a growing interest in functional drinks and popular ingredients that make people may associate with health, relaxation, or overall well-being. To meet these changing demands, you can add ingredients like green tea or rooibos tea and matcha to your beverage as they gain a lot of popularity and perceived healthy among people. Or flavor your beverage with ingredients like rosemary, lavender, chamomile, or other aromatic herbs, which could be, for example, a welcome addition to hot or cold tea. And why not whipped cream, chocolate shavings, fancy garnishes, decorative foam can feel like a treat or a return to normalcy, even if people are enjoying beverage or on the go instead of sitting in a cafe or in a restaurant. And with this, I hand over again to Manu for how the customer experience is changing.
So customer experience, but there are still more things you can do to make guests feel comfortable again. Whether consumer dining in or taking out or getting delivery, the experience should always be stress-free and they should always feel confident and safe. Here, we are proposing some ideas to create a new experience for guests coming back to restaurant by putting ourselves in their shoes and considering every step of their experience. From when they are at home, considering dining out, to when they are leaving restaurant after the meal. So reconnect with customers. First, showing off your updates and new practices on social media. Surveys show people now have more time browsing social media and they are spending more time watching videos or reading review, trends, ads. So as a first step, reconnect with your guests by engaging them in your social media, showing them what you have done to enhance safety and create a buzz around reopening. Invite the order. Next, reach out to guests via email and social media, promoting specials and incentive and inviting them to order online. Example, providing links or QR code which convert them directly to their menu and make ordering easy and fast. Takeout delivery. During the lockdown, many consumers discovered there were many delivery options many delivery options out there that they didn't knew before. Operators should make sure delivery is part of their long-term plan and try to take steps to enhance their takeout and delivery services. How? From adding digital ordering tools and touchless payment to specific pickup areas. They can be specific about the pickup time and inform guests when their order is ready to avoid crowding. All this make it convenient and safe for consumers. In the parking lot, operators can also update the parking lot, mark waiting lines for guests to wait there, and send them instruction about how to order online, QR code, for example. Prepay and text when they arrive to limit the time they spend indoor at restaurants. They can inform guests when their table is ready as well. At the front door, they can post signs to show their guests that they are complying with local regulations, offer sanitizer and have supply of masks if someone asks for one. They can mark the floor to keep physical distancing between guests. At the table, it is recommended to sanitize the table, of course, in front of the guest. Prepare table with paper tablecloths and wrapped silverware after guests are seated. This way, they feel comfortable sitting at the table and enjoying their meal. Use digital or chalkboard menu to reduce touch points and provide a bag to hold mask and hand wipes while eating. After the meal, for payment, it's better to use touchless system to avoid handling cash, receipt holder, credit card, and so on, as people would strongly prefer so. Assign a separate exit door if possible and thank them for trusting you. Consumers trend to come back if they feel well taken care of while leaving the restaurant. Some operators may have been running successfully for years, but it's important for them to know that their business is no longer as usual. They might need to make a fresh start in order to be back to business after COVID. Innovation, creativity, and reinvention are key to succeed. It's good to try new things. They can start with simple, inexpensive, and yet effective plan and adjust as they go. Here we are bringing some innovation around the world which are growth trying for their inspiration, for example. Given the fact that traceability is key to manage the outbreak and the spread, restaurants in Italy are taking guest information during reservation to help tracing the guest and contact them if one later tests positive. Shake Shack launched a cook-at-home burger kit. The kit can be ordered online for delivery, including their signature sauces. This way, they found a new remarkable revenue stream to help their business. Success story. And there are other success stories close to home. Nestlé customer and 2 Michelin star chef Guylaine Arabian. For the first wave of the lockdown, she kept her employee occupied by preparing around 2,000 meals to feed the community. Later, she added a 3-courses grab-and-go menu at a discounted price. And finally, even after the restaurant doors open again, she continued offering the grab-and-go option, which she has found satisfies guests and increased her revenue despite a reduced capacity triggered by social distancing. And now, Anne, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, Manu. Another aspect that we wanted to share with you is about how to reach out with your guests and your own employees, because with so much new information coming our way, it's essential to maintain a good communication. Could be really overwhelming with both your guests and your own staff. People are willing to dine out again, as Cornel said in the introduction, and they are more concerned with health, safety, but you can reassure them by demonstrating how much thought you have already put into keeping them safe and showing them the changes that you have made at your own business. So, some communication with guests best practices. You can communicate with them instantly and easily via digital tools. On your website, for example, if you have it, keep them informed about the changes you have made to make them feel safe. Promote online ordering along with takeout and delivery options, and make sure your online menu is updated with the changes you have made on your website and with delivery companies if you work with them. On the other side, on social media, if you have it, if you use Facebook or Twitter or any other, maintain a positive tone. This is very, very important. So in how people can still enjoy eating out, and if this is allowed in your country, and engage your public by hashtag. Create family, date night, or other concept-based promotion. Promote your new options like take and bake dishes, meal kits, and beverage mix. Create, for some people, is creating charity events, for example, where guests can buy a meal and donate to one healthcare institution, for example. And remember to capture your guest information if that is required in your local regulation. Another one is in emails and newsletter. This is another good best practice. Show them your new online ordering and payment systems to prevent confusion. Other good one is offer an interview, for example, with your chef on menu options and tips of how they can really complete the meals at home, healthy options to maintain them healthy and safe. And then when we talk about connecting with your own team, this is extremely important. As you make changes at your business, is really key that your team will also need some education and support. So schedule training on the new safety and sanitation protocols for all employees. Make sure your staff is very well aware on how to use the new ordering and payment tools and how to work with delivery partners. Update the service on menu changes and use digital tools to instantly alert your staff of COVID exposure or restaurant closure, any other change that you are forced to do. And lastly, send email or text to all of them to say a big thanks to your staff for their hard work in these challenging times. And with this, I would like to hand over back to Cornel. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Manu. These may be really challenging times, but the good news is dining out is still an experience that people enjoy and want to be part of their lives. Even during a pandemic, convenience and cravings keep driving them to go out. Together, we can find ways to make the most of that experience despite all these new limitations that we have. The key is to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, anticipating their concerns at every step and looking for ways to make dining out feel safe, easy, and more enjoyable. By showing your concern for people's welfare, comfort, and satisfaction with your food, you can rebuild the trust and get back to feed your community. This is a huge task in front of all of us, and I wish you all the best and luck to achieve all this. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Everyone, I think, Lynn,
Yes.
we can continue with one final slide before the Q&A, if this is okay.
Yes.
We wanted to remind everyone that you have, of course, more information in the November edition that the World Chef issued magazine, and in the NutriPro section by Nestlé Professional page. You have here the link as well. And then we have another quiz that Lynn is going to share now.
Yes, so thank you, Anna, thank you, Cornel, and thank you, Emmanuel, for a very informative session. So before I start launching the second poll, I would like to share the result to the first poll that we did at the beginning of the session. So if you can see on screen, we have nearly 80% of the audience already submitted their answers to the first poll that we have. And due to the pandemic, how many consumers globally are now planning to eat and drink healthier? That's the questions, and 36% of our participants got it right. 80% of the consumer globally are now planning to eat and drink healthier. Congratulations on getting your correct answer. And it's completely okay if you are not right this time. You can try again in the next question that we're about to have. So you will soon see on screen the second question. So this is an open question for us to get to know more about you and what you are interested in learning in our upcoming webinars together with Nestlé Professional experts. So it can either be plant-based dairy alternatives or coffee fundamentals or tips on how operator can minimize waste and be more planet-friendly positive. We have many choices up there. Please feel free to choose multiple choice, and we will only close this poll at the end of the webinar. So now I will hand over the forum to our speakers to address the questions from our participants. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lynn. So we answered the questions then. Maybe it's good to check. We have, I think, a couple of questions already in the chat. The first question that we get, what about gluten-free menu? From Muthana Albarakat. So that's a super good question because we know as well, we have a very recent evidence and research that 40% of the guests want more nutritional information on the menus, and people wants to know more about the dietary restrictions. So for example, gluten-free is one of the most demanded aspects to be really clearly specified in menus. So all the efforts that we make in restaurants and in different food service industry to bring transparency on what we provide and what is in terms of dietary restrictions with big focus in gluten-free, it's really very important to make sure that you can offer this, that you have all the steps of your process under control, not only the ingredients needs to be gluten-free, as you know, you need to have as well an elaboration that ensures the lack of cross-contamination with any other gluten-containing food, and making sure that once you can provide this guarantee, you can as well communicate clearly to your guest in your menu, this is my gluten-free offer. So thanks a lot for that question. We can go to the next one. The next one is addressed to our chef. Dear chef, in many restaurants and hotel stays, guests who come to celiac guilty-free nutrition are uneducated, and there is a lack of knowledge and training in master chef friends about this issue. So can you tell us, Manu, your point?
Well, my point is like for every, I would say, allergy or, sorry. So I would say that it's like in many allergy issues or food restriction for our beloved guests in our hotels, operation or restaurant, we need training. definitely, that's for sure. I think the training is the key to resolve that problem. And we have many answers in our NutriPro magazine that we share with World Chef. So check it out, as much as you want, but the key is the training. Yes.
Thanks a lot, Manu. And as Manu is explaining, we do a lot of effort to provide this, setting this knowledge on important nutrition affecting out of home in all the previous NutriPro edition. And we have one specific NutriPro edition dedicated to gluten-free that you can find for free in our website. And then we can go, there is another question about, do you have any research of numbers about how the pandemic hit food and beverage businesses in the Middle East?
Yeah, thank you for this question. We are still in the middle of the crisis, and it is not clear yet exactly what the results will be. I don't have specific numbers of Middle East, but what we see that the pandemic really has the impact all over the world, and it's almost everywhere the same. But it's I don't have specific numbers that I can now comment what the impact will be. Clear is, as said, out of home is heavily touched. We think that it will take until 2024 until the industry really recovers and will be at pre-COVID level. We also know, of course, as already explained, that off-premises is booming and will compensate part of what we are losing in dining in. But some part of the sales in dining in is lost for good and will not be recovered until 2024.
Thanks a lot, Cornel. There is another question that maybe you can help us. In Indonesia, most of the people actually interested in plant-based meal, but the price of it is quite high rather than the real meat. How we actually can deal with it?
Yeah, we know that the cost of plant-based meals will come down in the future. This is a new business and a new market. And in the beginning, as in every industry, you have higher prices, but there's no doubt that the price of plant-based products, which are mimicking meat, will be at least at the level of meat, if not cheaper, in the future.
Thanks a lot, Cornel. I think we don't have any more questions for the time being in the chat, or it should be included in the menu, sorry, of celiacs in hotels and restaurants. I think we already talked about that guests are demanding much more transparency and information about everything that is diet restrictions. And yes, of course, once you have this reassurance, the best advice is to be very specific and clear in your menu in explaining what are the actions for that they can consume, celiac people. There is another question that World Chefs and Nestlé and Feed the Planet support advocacy, zero food waste and paper chains to healthy new soil, CO2-free, but carbon-rich. I'm not so sure to understand the question of advocacy zero, but what I can tell you is that we are in Nestlé Professional as part of course, of the group of Nestlé. We have a very, very a strong commitment to carbon footprint, and we committed publicly, our CEO, to halve our CO2 emissions by 2030 and to be carbon neutral by 2050. So as part of the group commitment, obviously Nestlé Professional is doing a contribution, and we are working in every step of the value chain, as you can imagine, from the sourcing of the ingredients, the distribution, the manufacturing, all the steps of the value chain, a lot of packaging efforts to go into recyclable options until the end of the customer use. So we have a very, very serious commitment, and we are taking all the steps towards the carbon neutrality. Another one, is Nestlé applying these strategies during pandemic? Yes, all the strategies that we have in terms of moving toward better nutrition, more environmental friendly solutions. This is not stopping because of the pandemic. I think Cornel explained very well all the huge impact that we are having, but in terms of policies and moving to nutrition and sustainability, we are not stopping because of the pandemic, and we are continue doing these efforts equally. Sorry. How do you see the demand for beverages changing in today's environment? Not so sure if what is the question in regards to a specific beverage. Where what I explained during the presentation with Cornel and Manu is that we see a different demand in terms of beverages, that people is looking for healthier options like less sugar, so even more plant-based dairy alternatives is very important to take, for example, like oat milk with your coffee instead of the regular milk, and functional ingredients, as I explained. And this is one very big trend that we are observing due to the pandemic. Is the shift to non-dairy milk options increasing all over the world, or still dairy milk is the dominating hero? I don't have the total figures today, but what we know is that, of course, dairy milk is a good alternative, nutritionally speaking, and is very common, and this is very heterogeneous market. But what we know for sure is that the non-dairy is growing in demand, and people is looking to have more options and more alternatives when they go to dine out. They want to see more and more these alternatives as well. A question related to food service and clean label, yes. I'm not so sure if I understand APAC. I don't know if my colleagues understand. It's
East Asia.
in East Asia, sorry, thank you, Cornel. We know that, I don't have numbers particular for Asia, okay? So what we are studying, the global research in terms of naturality, yes, this is a demand associated with the better nutrition, environmental friendly, and the fact that you can use ingredients that they are as close as possible to the ingredients you have in your own home, that they are recognizable, that you don't use artificial colors. This is more and more important, and it's linked with what Manu explained as well about transparency. People want to know what is inside their food. They want to know about the ingredients, and the most recognizable that you have in the ingredient list, the less additives and colors you put is the best. That's why as well in Nestlé, and particularly in Nestlé Professional, we have an internal strategy that we call Chef's Pantry. And thanks to this strategy, we move more and more towards fully recognizable ingredients in all our portfolio, and trying to use as much as possible always what we call natural ingredients. What else? What is this question? I'm sorry. If someone ordered food through app, but he don't come to pick, then what could you do? Not sure if I understand this question. It's maybe anyway, please, if we don't answer all your questions now, be sure that the word chef and Lynn is taking care of collecting all the non-answered questions, and we will make sure to make reachable for you a Q&A with all the questions correctly answered and making available for everyone. Is that correct, Lynn?
Yes. Please don't worry that all your questions will be addressed, even the one on Facebook. I will be collecting all the questions and share it with our speaker. Yes, Anna, I still see some of the questions are showing up on screen. We still have 10 minutes left to answer the question. Would you like to address some of them, or would you prefer to spend some time and think about it and answer it offline?
I think it would be nice if we can provide all these answers as well later in a written form, so that everyone can access these questions. And we can spend maybe 5 minutes listening from the audience, what are the areas that they would like us to work in the future for the next webinars, next sessions, because we are really now planning ahead everything that is really important for our customers in out of home, and what are the areas where we can invest more to bring tools and educational materials, like we did, for example, recently with the plant-based meat solution in the previous edition to this one, that was Make It Sizzle, dedicated to these plant-based meat alternatives, was very, very demanded, very well used by the customers. Now Open for Business was as well, of course, due to the COVID, one strong request we got from our customers. And what we would like to know, what is next? We have some ideas, of course, but it would be very important, Lynn, in the quiz that you made, the last one, when you make these open questions to the audience, what are the topics you would like us to work later? If we can dedicate a couple of minutes to that, if that's okay for you.
Yes, of course. So I will now end the poll questions that we launched a few minutes ago, and we can see the result on what are the topics that are most interested by our audience today for the next webinar. So if you can see on screen, we have 58%, 94 people who say that they are very much interested in a webinar on plant-based dairy alternatives. Then we have a close runner-up on the topic of tips on how operators can minimize waste and be more planet-friendly positive. Then we have sustainable packaging coming in the third place. Then for the rest of the topic, I can see that the percentage is more or less similar. We have 47% of our audience would like a webinar on food pairing with coffee. 40% of our audience would like a webinar on carbon footprint and why is it important. 32% on coffee innovation and roasting, and 24% on coffee fundamental. So thank you so much for all the chefs, all the audience who are here with us today that have submitted your answer to our poll questions. And we are very, very, very happy to hear that you were interested in hearing more from us. I will just take a quick screenshot of this full results so I can share with the team and we can work on the next topic for our webinar series. So on behalf of all the participants, I would like to say a big thank yous to our three speakers today. Cornel, Anna, and Emmanuel, we learned a lot from you, and we're very much looking forward for more webinar from you in the coming months. And once again, thank you so much for joining us from everywhere around the world. And please also stay tuned for my update on the upcoming webinars. For today's webinar, I will be sharing with you the presentations and the certificate and the digital badge via email by this Friday, 29th of January. So please stay tuned for my update. In the meantime, please don't forget to take a look at the NutriPro magazine. I will also share the link to that magazine in the follow-up email. You can also take a look at our podcast. We also work with Nestlé Professional team on our podcast. It's an excellent podcast, highly recommended. So please take your time and listen to the podcast. And you can also check our more resources, all the recordings, all the previous webinars that we've done on latest.worship.org. Latest is written as latest.worship.org. And this is also where you should go to register for the upcoming events from us. So thank you for joining us today, and goodbye.
Thanks a lot, Lynn. It was a pleasure from our side, and wanted to say thanks for your interaction. And as Lynn was explaining, in the podcast, you will have even much more details about nutrition after COVID, because we see there is a lot of questions about nutrition. Listen to that podcast with Manu and myself and Raja. We explain a lot deeply about that. And we will make sure, Cornel, Manu, myself, and all our team, that we will cover in our priorities now to build educational materials for the next webinar according to these priorities that you have voted all today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.
Very good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.